And peoples of the world, welcome back. Capital G and Ellie. Sitting right behind me, making some noise with her paws on the floor. Here to bring you the Nahiri the Unforgiving. We're going into Oathbreaker today. What's Oathbreaker? Well, I'll get into the specifics here shortly, but before I do, be sure to look for me up on Discord, a couple of groups that you might find me on and play some games with, some misadventures over on the Tik Toks as well. And a link to the deck list in the description below. Oathbreaker. It's been around for a little while. It's kind of hung on the fringes. It had a big surge of popularity back when War of the Spark came out, being a Planeswalker-focused set, and Oathbreaker being a Planeswalker-focused format. It's kind of hung around since then. There's a committee that, looks at cards, makes bans, what have you. It is governed and has recently actually been recognized as an official format by Wizards of the Coast. They haven't done anything with it in terms of their online platforms at this point. But you figure at some point they're going to want to start making Oathbreaker precons and maybe putting out a set every year. I feel like that's what's going to be happening, and that's why they decided to do this. Could be right, could be wrong. Let's see if it sticks this time, like really sticks. All I know is that ever since Wizards made that announcement, people on my Discord groups have been playing it more often. People at my LGS have been playing it more often. And personally, it's not my format. The speed is a little fast for my tastes. Yep, there's at least looking for a new space to rest. But yes, Oathbreaker as a format is a little fast for my taste. But by the same token, I don't blame it. If you like this format, if this is your favorite, I don't blame you. It makes perfect sense to me. And it's very flavorful too. So let us see what Oathbreaker is about. Again, it's a, if you don't know the format, it's a 60-card singleton. It's similar to Commander in that you choose an Oathbreaker. In this case, an Oathbreaker is a Planeswalker. Must be a Planeswalker. Each one gets a signature spell within its color identity. That also starts in your command zone. In the case of Nahiri, I'm going to go with Faithless Looting as my signature spell, and you'll see why shortly. But with Nahiri the Unforgiving, I decided to go into a Boros Reanimation strategy. Yes, Boros Reanimator, that's what we're doing. That's the kind of thing that we can do in Oathbreaker that's not quite possible in Commander. I don't know if there's quite enough cards to do it in Commander, but at least in Oathbreaker, I had to make some cuts, so there you go. Being 60 cards means we have a faster format, only 20 life to start. So aggressive strategies do prevail far more often here than they would in Commander. So 20 life, 60 cards, 2 of which start in your command zone. 1 is a Planeswalker, 1 is an instant or sorcery spell. So Nahiri the Unforgiving. So why Boros Reanimator? Well, let's start with Nahiri herself. White, red. And a Phyrexian Boros and 1 generic. Phyrexian Boros means you can pay either red, white, or 2 life to cover that cost. If you pay the 2 life, she comes in with 2 less loyalty because, well, she's completed. So 5 loyalty if you pay full price, 3 loyalty if you've paid life. That first +1, we don't care about so much. Until your next turn, up to 1 target creature attacks a player each combat if able. Not really focusing in on that. +1, discard a card and draw a card. There we go. We can fill our graveyard with the stuff we want to reanimate. Cool. 0, exile target creature or equipment card with mana value less than Nahiri's loyalty from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it. The token gains haste, exile it at the beginning of the next end step. There we go. So Nahiri can actually take some cards in our graveyard and briefly bring it back onto the battlefield for us. Hopefully just long enough for us to win the game. Such is the theory there. But that is why Faithless Looting is the signature spell. For 1 mana, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. So just really accelerates the whole filling of the graveyard. The fact that this flashes back means we can actually cast this a couple extra times while skipping the command tags. command tax does still apply when you have to recast your Oathbreaker or recast your signature spell. A signature spell, by the way, cannot be cast unless your Oathbreaker is on the battlefield. So, as efficient as Faithless looting is, that is the cost that we pay, is the fact that we do not have access to it until Nahiri is on the battlefield. With that in mind, let's go into the list itself. Some cool things about the format. Anything that refers to your commander refers to your Oathbreaker, so Arcane Signet and Command Tower still work. So that is good to know. The ban list is actually fairly short. You can find the ban list on the Oathbreaker's official website. I'll post a link for that as well in the description. One card that I'm surprised isn't banned, or at least at first I was surprised wasn't banned, is Pithing Needle. Now, why was I a little surprised that this is a perfectly legal card in the format? Well, for 1 mana, you can see everyone's Oathbreakers, you can see everyone's Planeswalkers. So for 1 mana, you can choose one and turn it off. If someone wants to play Pithing Needle against us, for example, they can cast it, comes onto the battlefield, they name Nahiri the Unforgiving. I will not be able to use her loyalty abilities at all. They're shut off. They're activated abilities. They're off. But we still have access to the signature spell. So that's Pithing Needle does not take that away from us. And that's probably why they did not remove this from the format. I felt like something like this would be against the spirit of Oathbreaker. But again, the games are so much faster that it's probably not that relevant. Other artifacts in the deck we're running, Talisman of Conviction and Helm of the Host. Uh-oh. Do we smell a Godo? Yes, we smell a Godo. Godo, of course, if you don't know the Godo-Helm combo, Godo comes down, brings Helm of the Host back onto the battlefield from your library. If you manage to equip Helm of the Host to Godo, you get infinite combats, and so long as someone doesn't have a random first striker to hold you back, you win the game right then and there. Creatures, of course, we're running 21 creatures, some smaller, some larger, in order to take advantage of Nahiri's abilities. So things like Cathartic Commando lets us remove artifacts or enchantments, which I think is pretty handy. Feldon of the Third Path. Again, we feel like we're filling up our graveyard. We're going to use this to kind of pseudo-reanimate whatever's in our graveyard. This is the kind of thing that Boros can do, and that's why Boros Reanimator. Flamescroll Celebrant, another nice little meta card for this format. Whenever an opponent activates an ability that isn't a mana ability, deal 1 damage to that player. That includes Oathbreaker loyalty abilities, folks. Also, just the option of being able to turn off one of our opponent's turns. They can't cast spells or activate Planeswalker abilities this turn with the Revel in Silence side. Yes, we end up exiling the card if we use this. But if we're using this, chances are it's because we're going to knock them out. So, I think this is a very, very spicy piece for this build. Also running some incarnations like Fury. These are some pretty cool ETB effects that we can evoke it, get it, it goes into the graveyard, reanimate it again later, and get the ability again, especially if we get, I think we have to get Nahiri to 6 actually. Because Nahiri says less than her loyalty. So if Nahiri's at 6, she can she can exile Fury from our graveyard, bring it back for a quick strike. There is Godo, of course. Help us go get our Helm of the Host. Ingenious Artillerist. We're gonna have some artifact creature synergies here, as we'll see. Another combo we're running Karmic Guide and Revelark. So these two combined with the sack outlet, the sack outlet in question being Goblin Bombardment, means infinite damage. Because Karmic Guide brings back the Revelark, sack Karmic Guide to Goblin Bombardment, sack Revelark Goblin Bombardment, it brings back the Karmic Guide, loop and repeat, infinite damage. And only 60 cards in the deck, so it's a lot easier to assemble these combos in a 60 card deck compared to a 100 card deck. We're running Feldon, so I thought it was on point to also run Loran. She's got a very powerful enter the battlefield ability as is, so I thought it should be a great addition. Metalwork Colossus. We do definitely want some bigger creatures to reanimate. If we're going to cheat the mana cost of creatures that we discard, we better make it a big mana cost. Mishra Excavation Prodigy. We could have some artifacts that we toss into the graveyard. Get some extra mana out of it. Just more looting ability. The fact that he's a legendary creature is also going to be relevant, as we will see shortly. Mirror Battle Sphere. The Mirror Ball. This comes in. Just make a whole bunch of tokens that we can swing with and protect our commander with. Phyrexian Revoker, same as the Pithing Needle. Again, we can shut down one of our opponent's Oathbreakers with this if we so chose to. And being a artifact creature means it's actually pretty easy for us to get it back onto the battlefield if it's ever removed. The Professor of Symbology. Imagine a white looting effect. This is what this is essentially, thanks to the Learn. Because whenever people see Learn, they think, oh, we have to go get lesson cards, but we can't bring lesson cards in. Oathbreaker, same as Commander, you cannot bring in a card from outside the game. However, we can still instead discard a card to draw a card. That's what this deck wants to do anyways. So yes, the Professor slots in pretty nice here. Perforos. You saw that we had the Mirror Battlesphere, so Perforos on the battlefield. Mirror Battlesphere comes down. That's 10 damage to everyone right there. Solitude, again, a nice little incarnation that we can toss out there to remove our opponent's creatures. Sun Titan, we have enough smaller mana valued permanents that Sun Titan is a house. Just as much in this format as it is in Commander. Tashar. 4 mana for this bird. It's whenever we cast a historic spell, we get a creature card with mana value 3 or less back from our graveyard to the battlefield. We've seen that we've got quite a selection of low mana value creatures already, some of which are legendary, some of which are artifact creatures. Both of those will trigger Tashar and bring those back. Velomachus Lorehold. Just a big old beater that lets us cast instants and sorceries on the cheap if we manage to attack with it. It's got haste. It's going to attack. Wall of Omens for some quick card draw and a Witty Roastmaster. We've already talked about Goblin Bombardment. We also have Impact Tremors to supplement our Perforos. Instants, not running too many here. The Enlightened Tutor helps us go get a artifact or enchantment card, so key combo piece, or it could just be a big beater. Lightning Bolt, we can shoot down our opponent's Planeswalkers with Lightning Bolt. So if they minus and they bring themselves down into Lightning Bolt range, don't hesitate. Wear and Tear takes down artifacts and enchantments, as it is known to do. So, of course, Boros Reanimator. Black is the best reanimation color by far. White is second place. White can very easily bring creatures back from the graveyard to the battlefield. Breath of Life does it. Resurrection does it. Red, of course, is very good at filling the graveyard to Cathartic Reunion. Recommission lets us bring an artifact or creature card with mana value 3 or less back to the battlefield from the graveyard. Sivin's Reclamation, again, a fantastic reanimation spell in white. Thrilling Discovery, get some additional looting effects in there. And of course, a good old-fashioned Wrath of God, just to clean up the board if we need to. Lands running 21. As when you play Standard, most Standard decks run 22 to 23 lands. Our pile is only 58 deep. So, I figured 21 might be the right amount of lands. If I'm wrong on this, be sure to let me know in the comments. I'm definitely not an expert in the format, but I think I have a pretty good foundation here. One thing I do emphasize is that because it's a much faster format, it's funny, in Commander, being a slower format, cards like Boros Guildgate are just too slow. Some people think that they're too slow for Commander. If you think they're too slow for Commander, you'll notice that I am not running any lands that come into play tapped. 6 mountains, 6 plains, and then none of the non-basics. are forced to come in tapped. I mean, some could come in tapped under specific situations. But for example, you look at spectator seating. As long as you've got 2 or more opponents, it comes in untapped. Sundown Pass, if you control 2 or more other lands, it comes in untapped. Every land that I am running in the deck has an opportunity to come in untapped. So that is far more important in Oathbreaker than it is in Commander, in my opinion. But with that, we're already through the list. 60 cards, which means it takes us a lot less time to go through the cards that are in the deck. And what does everyone think of that? Boros Reanimator, fun idea. And really one that I don't think we can really pull off in Commander just yet. But in Oathbreaker, I was able to kind of look at it for about 20 minutes and like, I could do that. And there we go. So let me know what you would add or remove to this list. Is it fast enough for the format? Is it too slow? What can we do to tweak it? Are there bigger creatures that we want to put in besides the ones I have chosen? Be sure to let me know in the comments, and I will talk to you again next time. The next list I post up will be a more traditional Commander deck. Until then, bye for now.